Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Grim the Lord Assault here today with some WWF Royal Rumble on the Sega Genesis. This game came out in 1993, the same year that King of the Ring came out on the NES. We played that last time as the mechanic Stu Jones, who won that King of the Ring tournament. Like the name suggests, this one's based on the Royal Rumble, and you do have the Royal Rumble game mode in there. I think the first home console game with it. Of course, it was also in WrestleFest, the arcade game, but this was the first time we got to do it at home. Pretty decent sized roster here on the Genesis version. There was a different roster on the Genesis as there was for the Super Nintendo version of the game, and so to get the full roster, you could say you kind of had to have both consoles. If you didn't, well, you had what you had, which still was pretty good. And it was also the successor to last year's Super WrestleMania, which was the last of the old WrestleMania trilogy sorts of games. And you can see the roster here. We've got, let's see, Bret Hart, Crush, Hulk Hogan, Irwin R. Shyster, Jim Duggan, Papa Shango, Macho Man Randy Savage, Razor Ramon, the Heartbreak Kid Shawn Michaels, the Model Rick Martel, Narcissist Lex Luger, and The Undertaker. And you can listen to the themes if you sit on them for a while. From Cocoa Beach, Florida, weighing 234 pounds, the Model Rick Martel. He'll be the one we'll be playing as for the Royal Rumble. You get this nice magazine intro here. We'll do a Royal Rumble for each. We are going to play through both versions. We'll do the Royal Rumble for each. And, yeah, now this game introduced, they did mix up the controls a bit. It isn't a straight translation from the, here's Hulk Hogan joining in the fun. It isn't so much based off the arcade games anymore. Macho Man Randy Savage joining in. Irwin R. Shyster. It fills in up to 6, and then, replaces one as they're lost as you go through the full roster, and Papa Shango rounds it up. So yeah, we'll play through both versions. We'll do the tag team tournament on this one, and for the Super Nintendo, we'll do the single tournament, get that world title, hopefully, and go from there. And then Rage of the Cage will wrap up this year of the games. We'll be playing through that one as well. So yeah, 93 was an interesting year for WWE. I rented this game a lot as a kid, because it was, well, there wasn't a lot of wrestling games for the Sega Genesis back in the day. There was WrestleMania the arcade game, there was WWF Raw, and there was this. And at the video store, they only had this and they had WrestleMania. So it was between these two. Eventually I wound up buying Super WrestleMania, Raw, and I wound up buying them all eventually. So I played them all. At the time, I was, as a fan, kind of invested in the rosters. I got into wrestling in the Attitude Era, so Hogan had already left and gone to WCW. But I knew of Hulk Hogan, of course, because he was a celebrity, and Randy Savage as well, although I only knew him as the Slim Jim guy. So Hogan was the one I really wanted to play as, and it also had, of course, The Undertaker. Also became a big fan of Papa Shango in this one. So my brother and I would play together. We would tag team. I would be The Undertaker, and he would be Papa Shango. So we had fun with that. All the wrestlers control the same. They have the same basic moveset. You do have to initiate the grapple with a button press now. It's not automatic like it was in other games. And you have to win this like tug-of-war style grapple. But they do have more moves, even if they're all the same. You can see us choking there, which is an illegal move. But if there's no ref, you can choke. And, there's no rules in a Royal Rumble, so it's anything goes. You have to eliminate them by tossing them over. Shawn Michaels in on the action now as well. The Undertaker, who just got eliminated by Papa Shango by the looks of it. It was a quick one. Bret Hart coming in, going right after, of course, his eternal rival. Papa Shango is really kicking butt this time around, but as Rick Martel, I'm surviving. I'm the #1 guy, so Crush joining in. The Konoha Crush, I guess you could call him. He tried for a while doing like a Hawaiian accent. It's kind of weird. Jim Duggan, Hacksaw joining in the fun. So a good sized roster. That's why you cannot of course do a full Royal Rumble. The arena seems like a generic Wrestle Challenge arena. Admittedly, if you were watching shows back then, The arena dressing didn't change a whole lot. There were different signs you would see if you looked up, which the view for this game doesn't even show. But yeah, the apron was always a generic blue apron. They didn't even have the WWF icons on them most of the time. Though the turnbuckle padding did have that, so there's that much is accurate. The icon on the turnbuckle. In the background, you can see Vince McMahon and Bobby the Brain Heenan. You can't hear them doing commentary, but at least they showed up back there. So that's good. The crowd looks nice and animated, especially compared to, we've been playing the 8-bit versions leading up to this, so it's a significant upgrade on that front. Still, of course, nowhere near as good as arcade games. Shawn Michaels finally eliminated Papa Shango. And the bad guy, Razor Ramon, joining in. Still holding our own as the model. So, yeah. But like I was saying, the game obviously would have been based more on 92 than 93, but kind of 92 leading into it, which was an interesting period, certainly. 92, of course, was the big steroid scandal. This would actually be the last wrestling game to feature a lot of the kind of bigger legends, Hulk Hogan, Randy Savage. They probably would have had the Warrior in it, but he'd been, I'm sure, released by then, probably because of said steroid scandal. Hogan was not far behind them. They tried to, of course, place him with Lex Luger. You're seeing narcissist Lex Luger. That's really 92 Lex Luger, more so than his 93 self. Same with Crush. I think by 93 he'd gone back to being a heel. Although by WrestleMania 9 a lot of this was still canon, so you can go by that as well. The steroid scandal hit. Hogan didn't leave right away. Of course, 93 WrestleMania 9 was the big controversial ending where Hogan basically took Bret's belt, using Yokozuna as a go-between. Shortest reign ever by Yokozuna. Only having the title for literally minutes before Hogan came out and beat him for it. Also, they had a really big European tour in 92, which was kind of leading up to all that stuff. You look at SummerSlam. SummerSlam was in Wembley Stadium. That was the event where I managed to eliminate the bad guy. It's just the model and Bret. Now, Rick Martel, he used to wrestle. He was one of the last big guys in AWA before the company closed. Larry Zbyszko kind of stepped up and took his place. It was Kurt Hennig first. Then when Hennig left, Martel took his place, and then Martel left, and then it was Zbyszko, who was married to Vern Gagne's daughter, so he stuck around to the end, and then instead of going to WWF, went to WCW. Eventually, he did do some time back in WWF again, because he started there as well. And the model Rick Martel wins the Royal Rumble. Here comes, I used to think it was Mean Gene, but it's Howard Finkel. It's the ring announcer. You can't, it's kind of hard to tell the difference. He looks like Mean Gene, but... Number 1, the model, Royal Rumble champion. Joined at the beginning, eliminated IRS, Randy Savage, the Narcissist, Crush, Razor Ramon, and Bret Hart. So a 6-minute Rumble. Pretty short and sweet, toot sweet as they might say. You get to listen to that model jam. And yeah, like I said, we'll be doing the tag team tournament here. Going after those tag team titles. Now the team I'm going to pick is my usual favorite. We've got Papa Shango, Hearts Unknown, and of course the partner I'm going to give to him, one of my all-time favorite wrestler. I mentioned before my brother and I played as this, The Undertaker. And our first opponents are going to be IRS and Shawn Michaels. Would have been more interesting if we went up against was it the $1 Million Team? What did they call it themselves? Money Inc. Is Ted DiBiase in this? I thought he was. Not positive. So anyway, yeah, Papa Shango and The Undertaker, they used to team together when they wrestled in the USWA under Jerry Lawler. Or they called themselves, according to Papa Shango, they called themselves the Death Express. Hard to find a lot of footage of the two of them together. They were known as, Papa Shango was the Soul Taker, Undertaker was the Master of Pain, later on the Punisher. So yeah, they were kind of an LOD style tag team there. And so this is a reunion of the Death Express. And it was my favorite tag teams to play as in this game. You can only play as in this game because Papa Shango, although the wrestler came back, he never used that persona again. So, and we wouldn't see him for many, many years. Fuck balls. Probably wouldn't see Papa Shango again for many years. He wouldn't be made a playable character in wrestling games for a very long time. I was kind of surprised that they ever put him in, but I was happy to see him. When Godfather was made a Hall of Famer, they put in some of his different personas at first, and Papa Shango stuck around for a little while, and eventually, of course, the Legend contract ended, I guess, or they just decided to take him out in more recent games. So he comes and goes. And you do bounce off the ropes if you're not careful. You can also use the atomic drop to toss them out, not just the ring toss. So you do have a better variety of moves, even if they all do the same moves. Tournament mode's very difficult, though, because this tug of war relies on button mashing. The computer's just really, really good at it. Basically, if the computer gets you in the grapple first, you know, especially when you get to a certain extent, you're pretty much done. There's no difficulty level adjustment for tournament mode, so you'll see at higher levels how ridiculously difficult it gets. Basically, if you don't have auto fire on your controller, you're probably not going to be able to finish tournament mode in this game. But yeah, they do have their own finishing moves in the game. You have to be in the right situation, of course, to do them. But they're all there. Undertaker with his tombstone. Papa Shango with his reverse shoulder breaker. Good moves all around. IRS, of course, the father of Bray Wyatt. So you get a lot of interesting, you know, legacy characters in here too. No double team moves. No tag team. Nice body slam there. Suplex. Once their health is in the red, you can usually hit them, if you're lucky enough, with a finishing move. There's the tombstone. And you pin them, and you have a chance. I think I had trouble figuring out how to pin there. Which button? You have to use the grapple button to pin. Toss them to the outside. When you're outside, it counts as a no rule, so we can't use the eye rake or choke moves in the ring with the ref. You either have to knock the ref out, or you do it on the outside, where there's also a steel chair you can see down there that you can use as a weapon. Kind of a carryover again from games like WrestleFest in particular. I don't think Superstars had anything down there for you to use. Not certain. I'd have to go back and look again. Yeah, here's a nice atomic drop from Papa Shango. Shawn Michaels putting up a good fight. Shawn Michaels had just split up with Marty Jannetty back then. He was actually managed by Sherry Martel still. She used to manage the Rockers, at least for a while. So it was Sensational Sherry, and she sang his theme song in the beginning. Of course, no lyrics in the version. Here's the reverse shoulder breaker, a nice finishing move, and finally figured out how to pin, which he kicked out of, even with just a sliver of health. You basically have to get them down to no health. And once you're down to no health, the ref counts it 3 times. Of course, you can knock the ref out, and if you knock the ref out, I think 3 times in this game, he'll leave, and it becomes a brawl, basically, which means you have to fight until somebody loses all their health, and then it's a knockout. No rules. So now we're up against Bret Hart, and I didn't, because I was going through it quickly. This was actually my second time through, because my first time I got nailed by Bret. He just, again, once you get to that higher difficulty, basically whoever lands the first hit is basically their game, you know, because whoever initiates the grapple has an advantage. But it does get to the point where the game is just so good at the button mashing that unless you're going to break your controller or you have a turbo controller, you're not going to win any grapples. So once they get a grapple in, it's pretty much a one-sided match. The model, this is the finalist from the Royal Rumble teaming up. What do you know? Not something you'd have seen probably back in the day, but then again, you wouldn't have seen The Undertaker or Papa Shango. Unfortunately, by the time Papa Shango debuted, Undertaker had already turned face, so they didn't get to be a team. They had a few matches, but nothing crazy. They didn't have a big rivalry, which would have been nice. But they did meet up. There was a tag match on a Saturday Night Main Event. I can't remember exactly who it was. I think it was Undertaker and Randy Savage, maybe, against Papa Shango and Jake Roberts or something like that. Yeah, they had some kind of a team up there. Yeah. So he wore the model down. He's trying to knock out the ref there. It seems to have trouble kind of locking onto the ref. But here's a tombstone, hopefully for the win. Making sure his health is down. Brett won't even bother us, so yeah. Another win for the Death Express, guys. Tombstone finish to Rick Martel. And of course, Undertaker's based off his really very first appearance because he still has the black gloves on. You know, they didn't even give him gray gloves. Ooh, the Mega Powers against the Death Express. Who will win? They do have stats in this game, so some wrestlers are just better than others. Hogan there making quick work of me. Sometimes punching and kicking makes it a little easier to get them into a grapple. Undertaker coming in for a choke there. Very nice. Double team for the Death Express. And yeah, once Hogan grabs you, you're done. There's really no getting out of that without a turbo controller. Back in the day, when I played this as a kid, I had a 6-button turbo controller for the Genesis. Here comes the Macho Man with the steel chair. And yeah, we'll break that up pretty quick. Nice double team. Teamwork there from Death Express. Hogan, of course, was at the end of his WWE run here, stealing the belt from Brett. Wasn't getting over as well as he used to, and they didn't come up. Vince seemed to be of the state of mind where it was, you know, out with the old, in with the new. So he wasn't interested in trying to find other ways to work Hogan to turn him heel or anything. He just wanted to replace him, and that was something he did with other wrestlers as well. Now Randy Savage turning the Mega Powers back around on me here. So yeah, so Hogan didn't. He wasn't going over as a face, so they just were putting him under. Savage was a champion at the time. He had a reign. He won it from Flair and retained it for a while. I forget. I think he actually lost it on a house show or something. I'm trying to remember how it went. Did he lose it to Not to Yokozuna. I don't remember who he lost to. Eventually wound up with Bret Hart. I do know that. I can't remember who Bret beat for the championship originally. But yeah, Bret was next in line. He was already Intercontinental Champion around this time. He dropped that belt to the Bulldog. He was supposed to drop it to Shawn Michaels, but because they started a big European tour. They had Rampage in the UK, and of course SummerSlam was in Europe. So they decided to put Bulldog over Davey Boy, and steel chair smashing Hogan smashing the chair over Undertaker's head. But yeah, because of that, they decided to put Bulldog over. But then the steroid scandal hit, and Bulldog was one of the guys, along with Ultimate Warrior, pretty much wound up getting thrown under the tracks, the two of them, and they wound up out for a while. So Bulldog had to drop. He was the one that dropped the Intercontinental belt to Shawn, who was going over at the time. But yeah, Bret and Shawn were on their way up. Hogan and Savage were on their way out. That's the basic gist of it. Taker was doing his feud with Harvey Whippleman a lot, 92 into 93. You know, started with his match with Sid Vicious, you know, kind of a side effect of events from the Royal Rumble. And then he had a feud, of course, with Kamala, and later on Giant Gonzalez. All kind of spun out of that. Spent about a year, you know, I call it monster slaying matches. It's like, you know, they're like kaiju matches, you know, The Undertaker and the Ugandan Giant, and then Giant Gonzalez, and, you know, that, of course, especially on, with Kamala, he did have a nice pair of matches. Kamala was actually a great wrestler, I think, really underrated at the time. Tombstone to the Golden Goose. He dropped him, he did him, man, he broke his neck. He's over. Call the wife, let her know. Referencing in real life, by the way, that Hogan did say that he was injured by the Tombstone at Survivor Series 91. So, for the championship against Jim Duggan and Razor Ramon. Interesting pair here. So yeah, that was Shango had gone through a few different feuds. He feuded with the Ultimate Warrior. He feuded with actually the Warrior was the big one that I remember. But yeah, I always liked Papa Shango. He was a pretty cool character. He'd curse people, and then they do crazy things. You know, years before Boogeyman or Danhausen came along and did similar things. Yeah, so it's cool. Scott Hall making his debut, of course. He was originally He had just been signed. He started. I think he was he in AWA, or I can't remember what territory he was in originally as a babyface. But he wound up in WCW where he turned heel and teamed up with. He was managed by Diamond Dallas Page, and he was made part of the Diamond Mine along with the likes of Scotty Flamingo, who you might better know as Raven, and Vinny Vegas, who would eventually become Diesel. So all those guys, future Clique members and stuff, had their roots in the Diamond Mine, working with Diamond Dallas Page before he even became a wrestler. Which is interesting. So yeah, this was Hall kind of coming and bringing a lot of the Diamond Stud in with him. And of course basing a lot of it as well off of Al Pacino from that film, the name of which I can't remember at the moment. But yeah, that was the focus of his gimmick in the beginning. But he brought like the toothpick over and stuff, and a lot of the mannerisms were things he already did. Even if the way he talked and the accent he used were all based on the film. Say hello to my little friend. Pat Duggan, of course, Jim Duggan, was a product of, was it Mid-South, I think? God, I can't remember the name. It's the territory JR commentated in. Finally knocked out the refs, so we can cheat a little bit here, or fight on the outside without a count out. But of course, Duggan being the CPU came in and just schooled me. And we got some cheap moves in there, so that's good. Wear his health down so that we have a better shot in the grapple as well. And the ref's already back up, so I didn't even get a chance to grab a chair or anything. At this point, the CPU is not giving me a lot of wiggle room. Tagging back into the Undertaker and Razor Ramon. So yeah, Duggan was from that territory. Known as being a bit of a stiff guy, but also always being really over with the fans. So the fans liked him. So even though he had that kind of stiff style, he was really popular back in the day. Still around as far as I know. Good old Jim Duggan. Still kicking. And yeah. It was known for carrying a flag and hitting guys with a 2x4. That was his thing. Like coming out of Walking Tall or something, right? Trying so hard to win these grapples. It gets harder and harder the further you go in the game. Jim Duggan ain't making it any easier. Decided to heck go for the tag. But yeah, it was an interesting year for professional wrestling. New generation's coming in, old generation's getting phased out. And as a fan, even though these games didn't have much going on, a lot of people hate on these games a lot. But I loved playing them as a kid, largely for the roster. And the roster was worth it because at least they had their special moves and their stats, of course. So they were different, even though the moveset was the same and even the sprite work looks a lot of the same, the same basic body type, just different outfits and heads, different colors. But it did the job. And it was fun to play, and it was fun playing. This was basically my Legends game back in the day, because even though only a few years had passed since 93, we're talking 96, 97, when I started watching wrestling, most of these wrestlers were gone, or had changed so much they didn't really resemble themselves. So it was fun to fight Razor Ramon knowing he was Scott Hall, right? And so yeah, stuff like that was just cool. And of course having Hulk Hogan and Macho Man in a WWF game with the likes of Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, and The Undertaker. It was just really cool as a fan. So even if it was off the top rope, even if it wasn't the the most faithful recreation or the deepest game, nice tombstone. Do we get him? Do we win the titles? Oh, they kicked out. The bastards. Yeah, so it was a lot of fun to play, and there wasn't a lot to compare it to at the time, basically, unless you could go to the arcades, play. Obviously, Superstars and WrestleFest were still better and more fun to play, but they were also getting older, right? No Undertaker in those games. Reverse shoulder block, nice one, Papa Shango, and of course he wasn't. I should have made sure he was out of health before going for that, but here we go, Papa Shango with another pin attempt. Alright, Death Express wins again, guys. I thought the titles were on the line there. They Round 5 of the championship tournament. Crush and the Narcissist. Definitely two strong guys. Yeah, Crush, of course, coming off of his days in Demolition. He actually had a match with the Repo Man, who was Smash in Demolition. So I think Crush got injured or something. He was, oof, atomic drop to the outside, off to a rough start. So yeah, you can see the two last members of Demolition, the ones that were in WrestleFest, fighting each other in the WWE at the time when Crush made his debut. His re-debut from the Kanoa Crush version. Of course, Lex Luger is the Narcissist. Luger was besides the rest of his career, these guys actually wrestled, by the way. Undertaker, when he was Mean Mark Calloway, he had his last match in WCW against Lex Luger, who was U.S. champion at the time. Even though they had a big push behind Mark, they didn't want to put him over. Of course, Ole Anderson infamously saying Mark would never draw, nobody would ever come see him. So they refused to put him over. So he jobbed to Lex Luger, didn't get the title, and almost got counted out there. It was very close. So here's them fighting again in WWF. Luger came over originally to join the World Bodybuilding Federation that Vince started around the time or shortly before. But that federation got closed down. It wasn't making money. So Luger was then transferred to WWE, where he became the Narcissist. He was managed by Bobby Heenan. And he had a short run. He only lasted a few months, I think, as the Narcissist before when Hogan left and Vince wanted a new patriotic face of the company to take over, he decided to pick Luger because he was a bodybuilder, and Vince likes his bodybuilders. Hogan was a bodybuilder himself once upon a time. This has been a rough match, guys. The computer is not giving me any room here. So yeah, and eventually, of course, they went with the All-American push with him, and then he left and went back to WCW. Yeah, Undertaker and Bryan Adams here. It's kind of funny to see how many games Crush was in back in the day. He was in WrestleFest, in Demolition. He's here in Royal Rumble, both versions of it. He's in certain versions of WWF Raw, but we'll talk about that later when we get to Raw. Raw is next, by the way. I was hoping to get Crush with the Tombstone before he could tag out and maybe end the match, but not so lucky. Narcissist is back in. Managed to hit a running drop kick, which is hard in this game. And we're just stomping the crap out to get his health down. He's in Tombstone danger, so I'm working on it, guys. But it's hard to mash those buttons, and the computer's just a little bit better at it. My fingers are getting sore at this point, and I don't want to break my controller either. That is definitely something I'll say against this system. It's fine as long as you're playing exhibition matches, which is all I did as a kid. Set it to difficulty 1 or 2, whatever you're comfortable with. Tombstone should be for the win. But I should have stomped him first, make sure his last scrap of health was gone. That was my mistake, and I tagged in Papa Shango for some reason, even though he's got no health. Crush is back in. But yeah, as long as you're playing exhibition mode, it's plenty fun to play. But if you're gonna do tournament mode, you really have to have a turbo controller. It's basically an unplayable game without it. And I made a bad move there. I tried to punch him. You can do a clothesline when they're running, but it's a different button. It's the grapple button actually, which is weird, but it is. And I'm just trying to land my special move on Crush, and he's not having it, guys. He's not having it. Yeah, the tug of war thing was a bad mechanic. I'm glad newer games don't use it. Crush got me. I'm done. There's basically no way for me to get up here, no way for me to kick out, and yeah, once he pins me, if he pins me or he decides to hit me with and there I am mashing buttons. That's why I hit the start button there. There's basically nothing I can do. This is the flaw of the grapple, the tug of war system. Undertaker won't even help because I'm done. We lost the title, guys. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed watching this video. I'll put in a bonus for you guys. You can watch an extra match. In the meantime, Crush is the tag champ. See you guys next time. Take it easy.
The following contest is scheduled for one fall. Making his way to the ring from Cocoa Beach, Florida, weighing in at 234 pounds, Rick the Model Martel.
From Park Avenue to Milan, Italy, you will not find anyone like Rick Martel.
I like the sweater. Nice touch. Okay, the sweater's not bad, but oh, that nasty arrogance. Get it out of here.
Breathe it in. It's magnificent. It's what greatness smells like.
Corey, here, hand me that Saxton voodoo doll. Quick. No, keep it away.
And his opponent, from parts unknown, weighing in at 330 pounds, Papa Shango.
Hey, Corey, did you get your Saxton voodoo doll from Papa Shango?
Yeah, I went to that shop down on Bourbon Street.
I thought you threw that thing away.
I keep it in my bag for moments just like this.
Whatever you guys do, just don't look him in the eyes. God, that's scary. You can feel the electricity running through this arena. This is going to be some battle. One-on-one, mano-a-mano.
And this is one of those matches where it's hard to believe we get paid for this. Well, actually, it's hard to believe Saxton gets paid for anything.
Lariat!
What a stomp! Good grief! Harsh impact. Now it's Papa Shango struggling a bit. He looks incredibly motivated, though. Don't expect him to be down for long. Yeah, he's going for the pin. Oh, and a quick kick out from Papa Shango.
Not yet.
There he goes, crashing to the floor. You gotta believe this one's over.
Thunderous slam.
Oh, nasty impact.
Fireman's carry. This doesn't look good, Corey.
Couldn't agree more, Cole. This has got trouble written all over it.
He wants no part of the outside. Oh, he's got him here. He's got a slam. Irish whip. Good golly, what a knee. Oh, look at that. Papa Shango going for the cover.
You're not going to win any matches that easily.
Yeah, this early, no chance.
Oh, Corey, he unloaded there.
Setting it up. Oh, going right after the neck.
What a stomp.
Good grief. Oof. Ooh, what impact.
What does Papa Shango need to do now to remain a factor in this match? He doesn't want to absorb much more punishment if he wants to win this match.
The amount of punishment he's absorbed in this match is absolutely insane. A lesser man would have given up and walked away by now.
Takes him down in a major way, too.
Elbow finds its mark.
When this guy's on, look out.
Woo-wee. Rick Martin running cross-body by the model. Just when you thought he had nothing left. Oh, man, Papa Shango doesn't even know where he is.
The cover. What a way to win a singles match.
These superstars put on quite a show. Here's another look.
Man, oh man, look at that. And this is how he ended it.
Here is your winner, Rick the Model Martel.
An entertaining display tonight for Rick Martel.
I could watch them go at it each and every week. What a match.
As we close the book on this match, I need to remind everybody just how big of a win this was. Simply amazing.